first of all, a little background, a recap of the last few years in AI. So research in the field of AI has experienced an exponential growth in the past decade. So if we look at this chart in the top right, it shows the number of unique authors of research papers which were submitted to a world-class research conference on AI in the last 10 years, and it's really growing rapidly. And in November 2022, the launch of ChatGPT made the field even more popular. So ChatGPT presented a breakthrough in the ability of large language models to reason and interact with humans, which created a breakthrough in which created basically a new area in AI research called prompt engineering. And so prompt engineering really focuses on solving many real-world problems by crafting detailed instructions or feeding specific data into system prompts used by these models. And it turns out these models are surprisingly effective at utilizing this additional context. This gave birth to methods like retrieval augmented generation, also known as RAG, and this is typically used to retrieve domain-specific data from some documents in typical question answering settings. And this actually increases factual consistency and relevance in like model responses. Another concept is that of agents and tools, which aimed to solve other shortcomings of large language models like hallucinations on computational tasks. And if we fast forward to today, we have ideas how to build complex multi-agent architectures which can reason even better. Faster and better models are being designed and trained and released every day. And you might have even seen OpenAI's or Google's recent advancements in models tackling multiple modalities, so including text, speech, and vision all at the same time. And so the field is really still growing faster every day. And so while there's many of these generalist AI systems out there and AI co-pilots already, there's really a lack of good specialized systems which take advantage of some domains expertise to deliver really exceptional value to people interacting with them. So at Zebra BI, we actually started closely following the latest developments in the field last year and exploring ways of how we can take advantage of this new technology and integrate it with our flagship Zebra BI visualization layer and our domain expertise in business intelligence and the best practices in dashboarding. And this is how we came to the idea of developing a brand new product which would analyze your data and provide you precise, efficient, and actionable insights with the help of the best-in-class Zebra BI visuals, saving users precious time and letting them focus on making decisions based on the generated insights. So Zebra AI uses a multi-step reasoning architecture composed of AI agents focusing on understanding your data and generating the insights, as well as custom algorithms used to transform the data and feed it into the Zebra BI visualizations. And it does that completely automatically. So we actually see Zebra AI as not just another co-pilot, but as an autopilot, which you can actually steer to your wishes, and it will do all the hard work for you and deliver you outstanding and actionable results. So enough talk, it's better to just get straight to the demo. So, all right, great. I'm now inside Zebra AI. This is our AI-driven analytics autopilot. So for anyone who hasn't yet had a chance to play with Zebra AI, I'll do just a quick intro. This is like a standalone application, so it's not bound to Microsoft Power BI or Office like our existing Zebra BI solutions. So it's a standalone service built from the ground up, and it's running in Microsoft Azure Cloud servers and accessible via zebra-ai.com. So you might already know that to get started with Zebra AI, you first need to connect a data set to analyze, and that we support Excel and CSV files. But today I'm actually going to show you a brand new first version of a feature that we're releasing, which is the option to connect to an existing Power BI dataset. So if you click on this button right here, and after allowing some permissions, Zebra AI lists your Power BI dataset. So first you'll select the workspace, and then after that, you select the dataset you want to connect to. So we'll choose the regional performance. So the data set can actually be from any domain like finance, HR, operations, marketing, and so on. But for this demo specifically, we'll use an example sales data set. So before we do that, in this Power BI tab, I just want to show you more details about this data set. So this is your typical dashboard of product sales in Power BI. So we have some product and we're looking at the sales performance over different dimensions like the clients, products, channels, the regions, etc. And we see it's a bit cluttered. There's different colors being used in different contexts. And it's not also immediately evident if our sales performance is good or bad. So now let's connect to this data set in Zebra AI. So we're actually going to enter a DAX query to retrieve the data. So this is a powerful way to get exactly the data you want Zebra AI to analyze. And we're going to paste in a query I've prepared in advance. So this query looks maybe a little complex at first, but it's just a simple list of columns that we're interested in from the data. And it's actually generated automatically in Power BI from just a few clicks. So this whole DAX query. And we'll not spend too much time on this now, but we'll have a tutorial on how to generate like sensible DAX queries in just a few simple steps for anyone who will be interested in that. Now, when we execute this query, let's wait for that. Okay, so we can see the results in this preview window. So let's look at the results. We got some data. We have like a date time column. We have a few dimensions. So let's say the regions, the channel, the different products, product groups, and so on, as well as three measures. So the cost, profits, and the sales. And we see we have around 8,000 records. So everything looks great. So let's, start this process. So we'll just click on analyze this data. All right, so now the magic starts happening. So the system will try to understand what's going on and generate a summary. This data set is from the sales domain. It will try to understand what is going on and what could be some interesting things to analyze. Then it's going to try to interpret the different columns in the data, understand what those mean. Then it will start performing various different data analyses using statistical and AI-assisted algorithms, which will try to search for interesting patterns. It will try to drill down into some interesting data points, explore those. And then finally, it starts planning the dashboard and to draw. And you might have noticed if you've played with Zebra AI before, we've done some speed improvements since last time, and we're continuously actually exploring ways to make the system faster and better. All right, so now Zebra AI has generated a dashboard for us just like that, completely automatically from the moment we drop the data in. So all the variances were calculated. We can see single highlights as well as difference highlights, annotations and chart titles were generated and so on. So the colors are consistent. We can see immediately what's doing well and what isn't. So it unlocks these key insights that weren't apparent before in that Power BI dashboard. And just to emphasize, if you remember, the data set we connected didn't even have columns for like this year and previous year sales or profits, but the system automatically created them and made comparisons this year to last year. And in the first chart, even aggregated uh, these measures by month automatically. And you probably know how many hours this can take to prepare the model in Power BI just to get the columns and calculations visualized the way you want them to. More importantly, you might have noticed that now in this latest version, we're using the native Zebra BI charts visual, which many of you already know and love from Power BI or Microsoft Office. And so let's take a closer look why this is so great. So let's look at the first chart. We immediately see that we have a big drop in sales here in June compared to last year. And let's say we want to visualize this with a slightly different chart to see the impact a bit better. So because this is Zebra BI charts under the hood, it's just as simple as clicking on the chart slider button. And just like that, we have a waterfall chart. And now we see we have some red here. And we can easily zoom into it with the axis break feature. And now let's say we also want to see the absolute value in the variance label in June. And again, we can just click here, and now we see it immediately. It's right there, so minus 2.2 million. And we can also clearly see the difference highlight in the chart of minus 2.7% year over year. We can also switch to a variance chart, which makes variances even more obvious, or now for the first time ever, also the area chart, which is a different presentation of the data again. So there's a lot of customizability options with the new Zebra BI charts, including titles, labels, colors, but I'll leave all of that for you to explore on your own. So let's actually now look at the content a bit more closely. And so we already talked about the first chart. Let's now look at the second chart. It's a breakdown of the sales by the region. And we can see the central region is actually here in the green. And so the third chart here is actually breaking down these countries in the central region. And to see more details about this calculation, so the filter here applied is, the region is set to central. We can click on this button right here, which will open a new window, which will show you additional, the data slice that was actually visualized and some more additional information about the calculations, groupings, and aggregations performed to get this data set, so we can, you know, we can basically verify that the computations performed were correct. Also, we have automatically generated advice and summary, which summarizes the findings of the dashboards and tries to give pointers on what might make sense to look into or to do from a business perspective. So let's say we now want to really see what happened in June, and it's actually just as simple as writing a question here in the chat box using natural language, or even better, we can immediately see that Zebra AI actually generated a suggestion for us, found this outlier, and is giving us a suggestion on next steps to analyze it. So I'll just click on this, and the analysis will now again commence from the beginning. Um, the system will try to analyze our question, then try to select the right analysis to perform that analysis, try to formulate a sensible answer based on those results, and maybe even draw some additional charts. As we see, this was actually the case. So now let's look at these results. The system actually drilled down, as we see, into June, and showed us some results. So we can see we lost a lot of sales or revenue in this top client group, as well as in the East and South regions in June. So we might want to explore that further again and see what are the drivers of that. So once you're done with your analysis, you might want to share it with other stakeholders in your company. So currently we have the option to export the report into PowerPoint or Excel, again, with just one click. So let me just download this and show you what that's about. All right, I'll download Excel as well. In the meantime, I'll show the PowerPoint. If we open this presentation, we are greeted with a title slide, and it even includes an AI-generated title as well as an executive summary of the report. The other slides contain the dashboards with all the charts, and the whole chat context and additional advice and summary is present right here in the notes. If we look at the Excel workbook, for example, the spreadsheet created, we'll also see it has all the charts and the corresponding data slices pasted in sheet by sheet. Now you might notice these charts you're currently seeing are static. However, in a future version, we plan to integrate them with our native Zebra BI charts for Office add-ins with all of those configuration features and the settings dynamic settings that you know and love. All right, so with that, I'll actually conclude this demo, and I'll go back to the slides to show you a few more things. So let me just set this up correctly. All right, perfect. So now here's a few more snippets from Zebra AI working on data sets from different domains. So firstly, on the financials domains, we can see that it can visualize EBITDA margins correctly using the right label formatting, so percentages and percentage points. And we can even see comparisons between different companies on the right chart here. So Tesla, Nike, and so on. So it can do some benchmarking as well. Um, Here's another example from the sales domain. And what's interesting about this one actually is that we have a tool which can freely write and evaluate Python code and can compute some statistics relevant to the query. So we asked here, why is Paseo so profitable? And actually what the system did was use this code writing and evaluation tool to compute the Paseo profit margin correctly. And we can see it in this additional context here, the code that was used to compute, and the calculation was accurate and it was presented in the answer here as well. Next, we have an example from the HR domain. So Zebra AI can give you insights into salaries, hourly rate changes, training, churn rates, and so on. So for example, it can give you advice that you might want to consider balanced salary, or you might want to balance the salary hikes between the different departments, or that like you might want to consider different factors like employee satisfaction and retention and so on. Here's another example from the social media domain. It analyzes conversion rates across various channels, months. It breaks down the Twitter media channel performance, which was performing poorly, and it breaks it down over time right here. Uh, for and yeah, it also suggests looking into paid campaigns and so on. So it can actually give you relevant advice to your domain. Finally, here's an example from an insurance company where Zebra AI is analyzing data about mortgages and profiling the company's customers. So we here have the number of customers in a stock measure. So this is stock measure that over time needs to be displayed correctly. So we need to take the last value within some specific time period. For example, the last value within a quarter, if we're displaying, the customers throughout the quarters, or the last value within a month needs to be displayed, and not the sum of values. And Zebra AI actually does this, as we can see in this first chart. So it recognizes this correctly and visualizes stock measures accordingly. All right, and finally, I want to touch on some common concerns and questions about Zebra AI. We'll also have a Q&A session right after this, and also at the end of the presentation, where we can go deeper into some of your questions from the chat. But I'd like to get a head start and get some of the most common concerns out of the way immediately. So first of all, Zebra AI does not store any of your source data when you upload it or connect it for longer periods of time. It's only temporarily stored in a secure environment in the Microsoft Azure cloud during the duration of your data analysis session. So after you end the session, after you close the tab, or after you log out, it is deleted from our memory and our servers permanently. So Zebra AI doesn't use your data for training any machine learning models. We value your privacy. We use OpenAI GPT API to generate AI insights based on aggregated slices and statistics from your data, but OpenAI does not use any of that data for training either. So we'll have all of this security documentation and legal documentation available for those who will be interested in all of the details. In terms of hallucinations, there also a major concern in generative AI in general. So we employ various strategies to tackle this issue. For the drawn charts and data operations, we use data manipulation algorithms, statistical analysis, and other tools to assure that all of the charts and all of the data are factual and not hallucinated. So I demonstrated a feature quickly during the demo where you can double check AI generated text against grounded data transformations which were performed, and we'll also continue investing effort into this issue to mitigate any remaining hallucinations and also to make sure all calculation steps are as transparent and as reproducible as possible. In terms of data sources, we support Excel and CSV files, and since the latest version, also Power BI datasets. Currently, the data has got to be in a single table and properly formatted, so there are some rules you might have to adhere to. We have no hard constraints on dataset size in terms of rows. We've successfully tested it with 200,000 rows and around 25 columns, and we plan to expand on these limitations as well. We plan to support multi-table datasets in the future, and as for data sources, we plan to add connectors to various services and ERP systems, relational databases, data lakes, Databricks, BigQuery, and so on. So this is all going to be based on what our clients will need and give us feedback on. And so with that, I'd like to actually finish my part of the presentation.